What up, everybody? Aaron, Robert, Get Your Geek On, and we are here to review a movie that just came out Friday. Friday,
Christmas Day.
Whatever day that was.
It was Friday.
Was it Friday?
Wonder Woman 1984. We're here to talk about it. It was released directly on HBO Max as well as in select theaters. I watched it on the small screen.
Same.
I think that this was one of those movies that, obviously I wanted to watch it, but I also am very sad that I did not see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Especially after watching it, I think there's a lot of spectacle in it that would have been a lot of fun to watch. But, I think we've talked about it maybe off air. All right. So the first movie that came out in 2017, Wonder Woman. That was a great year for comic book movies.
Yes.
We had Thor Ragnarok came out that year. We had Logan came out that year. We had, a few other, like Spider-Man Homecoming was that year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was that year. Wonder Woman was my favorite comic book movie of that year. I loved it.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to the sequel. I mean, bringing back Patty Jenkins, obviously Gal Gadot, even Chris Pine. And so this was another really interesting, and it was a lot of the trailers leading up to it did leave me a little bit cold. And I wasn't necessarily getting maybe the vibe that I wanted from the movie. And so although I was really excited because I loved that first one and they kind of brought everyone back, I was a little bit concerned. What about you? I mean, I don't think you love the first one quite as much as I do.
I think I will say that. I think you did like it a lot more. I like it. We both have daughters, so I'm always for female protagonists to, show strong women in general. I'm always for that.
Sure.
Wonder Woman is not a character I know very well. I don't know a lot of DC characters from comics. I know like Green Lantern, Batman, Superman, The Flash a little bit, but that's from the TV show. Same with Green Arrow, really from the TV show.
Yep.
So, Wonder Woman is that character I haven't really touched, but I love the Amazonian culture. I think it's very interesting. So, that we got a little touch on that. That's always fun. I liked the first film. I really did. But, of course, when you come out against my boy Spider-Man, I'm going to... Spider-Man, that's my year for Spider-Man.
Sure.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I got you.
So, I don't know. I liked it. I had high hopes for this one. But, like you said, the trailers left me questioning a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Are we going to get just a wash, rinse, repeat of Wonder Woman storyline? Because she was a woman essentially almost like Captain America out of time.
In that first one,
That first one. And now the trailer shows Steve as the man out of time as well.
The fish out of water kind of, So, and I think we're going to talk a little non-spoilers first, and then we'll get into the spoiler stuff. So, obviously, in this movie, we get introduced to the world of the 1980s. We have Pedro Pascal as kind of our slick, kind of Ponzi scheme-esque businessman. He's, got advertisements on TV and all those things, but, he doesn't really have anything behind it. And then, of course, we have Diana. She's working at the Smithsonian. Alongside, she meets a new character, Barbara, who is played by Kristen Wiig. And, Barbara is portrayed as this kind of, a little bit bumbling and maybe socially awkward, I guess, is the term that I would use, where, she's obviously very intelligent.
Yes.
And, she's involved in a lot of things at the Smithsonian. She kind of gets pulled into this world because the FBI wants her to identify an artifact. And so, we kind of meet these different characters, and she feels kind of powerless.
She does.
Is how I would describe it.
I want to comment on hers really quick. Yeah. And again, not spoilers or anything. And I think this is what kind of dragged me out just a little bit from it. It feels like this is your stereotypical nerd.
It
from
did.
The 80s. And that's what she is. Like, here's your stereotypical woman nerd. I mean, for the too. That's what she was.
You know what? It felt very similar to the origins of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman in Batman Returns.
I really got that feel too.
And there were a lot of elements of this movie that felt very throwbacky to that kind of 80s and 90s era of making comic book movies, which I think a lot of it is intentional because this is a movie set in the 1980s, but some of it really does play off a little bit more campy, like a lot of those old movies do. But anyway, so we get all our players in place. There's this artifact that ends up kind of being the centerpiece of everything, which basically allows anyone to receive their greatest wish. And that's how Steve Trevor comes back.
Yeah.
And, so without getting into spoiler territory, the story kind of kicks off from there with kind of figuring out, what everybody's wishing for, what are the consequences of those wishes, and how is everybody getting what they want going to impact the world. And this is a concept that's been played with before. Think of like a movie like Bruce Almighty, where it's like everybody wins the lottery, and so then everybody gets $1, right? Yeah. And so there's definitely kind of concepts of that or shades of that in this movie. Yeah. Overall, I liked a lot of the action scenes. I thought there was some really cool action going in. I liked what they did with the Diana and Steve relationship. At parts, there were a couple parts that let me down, but I thought that dynamic stayed really strong. I thought Gal Gadot and Chris Pine, worked well together. I liked what Pedro Pascal was doing. I didn't necessarily like what his character ended up doing, but I thought he acted it very well. The same thing for Kristen Wiig. Like I think I appreciated what she was doing, but the actual journey of her character, I didn't really like all that much. Yeah. And that's kind of where I would say I land with on most of this movie, is that the actual story is where I felt let down. So I think that there were a lot of good characters, there's a lot of good action beats, but the story of the movie, I think it was kind of what I got from the trailers. Yeah. It was like there weren't a whole lot of surprises. It was to me, it felt very predictable. It felt like, oh, this is obviously where it's going to go. And the few kind of twists and turns that they did try and throw at you felt a little bit out of place. So without, again, we'll get into spoiler talk, but that's kind of, those are my initial feelings on it. What about you?
And I'm on the same path with you, because I liked Barbara, because I'm not going to remember her name. And I apologize, I'm terrible things.
Kristen Wiig.
I'll forget in about a couple seconds. I'm terrible at things. But Barbara, for what she was told to do, and I think that's what it is, as an actor, you're told what to do, she played that part well. Same with Pascal. And I love him in Mandalorian. I love him in Game of Thrones. Yeah. But this one, I didn't love it. I felt a little like it was sold short. I didn't like you said, we're not going to spoilers just yet, but there's a part I don't like a lot about his character. Diana, I liked that now we have a woman who's been around, I'm going to say man, for the last about 40 years or so.
70 years, really.
70?
Almost 65.
65 years? Has it been that long now?
Yeah, 1918 to 1984.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I forgot 18, because I always go back to World War II, because that's where Trevor dies.
Not in this universe, because they were in World War I.
Oh, that's right, one. That's right. Mm-hmm. And so I want to comment on this real quick. People were mad that they said that Steve Trevor should know about some of this stuff because he died in the 60s.
Not in this movie.
Even if he died in World War II, it would still be in the 40s.
And
commenting.
And also he didn't, because in this movie universe he died in 1918.
So, 1820s. And so people who think that he should know some of this stuff, y'all need to be quiet, because he died 50 years ago, almost at this point. 65, sorry. See, he knows that better than I do. Because I can go back to World War II.
Math.
I have to go back.
It's World War I in this universe
and I
that they established.
To jump back
this is not the comics. This is not anything else. This is this universe. This is a direct sequel to the first movie.
Yeah, exactly. So 65 years being with man. So I like how she's kind of adapted a few things, but she's still very an Amazon.
She feels very comfortable in the world, but she's very lonely. They established that she feels alone in the world.
65 years right now.
And on top of that she doesn't have maybe the same type of baggage that a character of Kristen Wiig would, where there's they're meet cute, where Barbara is kind of having trouble walking in heels, and she's like, oh, a scientist wearing heels. Scientists don't wear heels, and Gal Gadot's like, sure they do. I'm wearing heels. And it's one of those things where it's like, she doesn't have any of those same hang-ups or anything that growing up in maybe our society you would expect to do. And I do think they handled that well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think they played it well. I did like Steve for a little bit, but I felt some aspects of him were a little off in this one.
So this is what I will feel is that it's, and I don't know if this was intentional, and so maybe it was, but it felt like, and in a lot of media, and specifically I'll draw on Harry Potter, there's something in Harry Potter called the Resurrection Stone, where they can bring people back from the dead, but they're kind of a shadow of themselves. They're not the true version that lived. And that's kind of how this felt, is that he was kind of almost like only the specific things that Wonder Woman remembered about him. Like he was incredibly noble, like even more so than in the first one. Like very like, as soon as I don't want to get into the spoilers yet, but as soon as the twist with that happens, that we kind of all know is coming. Yeah, exactly. He's like 100% on board for that plan, no matter what. Exactly. And it's like, you don't want to fight for that at all. Yeah. And so it did feel like he was very thin as a character. Maybe that's what it was. And it might have been intentional. It might have been like, he's not supposed to be here, and so he's okay with kind of going back to wherever he was. I don't know.
And this isn't a spoiler, but I'm going to throw it right now. Did you like how they brought the invisible jet out? I don't want to touch any more, but do you like it?
I thought it was clever. Okay. I thought it was clever.
I like that part. I was like happy, like, how do you fit this into this world? And it did. I'm like, oh, she got an invisible jet. Yeah. So comic book nerd loved it.
I thought that worked. Her power set, especially by the end of the movie, I was not really a big fan of. It felt like this is too much, and also some of the things that she does feels like it doesn't fit in with Batman v Superman and Justice League, which is supposed to be like 30 some odd years after this, so it's like, did she forget about those things? Like, did she forget? So again, it's fine.
And I want to point out, Zack Snyder still had his hand in this too. He's credited as a producer in it. So I don't know.
I mean, I think that, he's still there's different levels of producing. Like sometimes you're a producer just because you gave some money or you offered up one idea as a creative.
And they have to give you something.
Yeah, and so I don't know how involved he was with it.
Exactly, but I feel there's a certain aspect that he may have had a little say-so in it a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So all right, the ending of the movie, again, without talking spoilers, I didn't like it. I thought it was really poorly executed at the end. I think I was enjoying the movie up to a point. There were problems with it. There were flaws with it. And I was enjoying it. And then kind of that final confrontation that Diana has with Max Lord is really what at the end, it didn't stick the landing for me. Yeah. And I felt really kind of let down. And then even, like the kind of we're wrapping everything up montage and kind of scene, like all of that, it left me feeling with a lot of questions. Yes. And like, wait, I was very confused. Let's put it that way.
And I agree. I was the same way with it. I did not like the ending at all. I had questions on it that are never going to get answered. Even if they make a Wonder Woman 3, it's not. I don't feel like they're going to get answered.
No, I don't think so. Hi, sweetheart.
I'm keeping this part of it. But yeah, I think I agree with you 100% that it's sold short. Really, really short for me. Yeah. And not to touch spoilers just yet, there's a certain part of that whole montage that I was actually mad at. That I'm like, if you can answer my question, it may destroy. It's a huge plot hole, essentially. Yeah. And I'm like, there's too many plot holes in this movie for me, too.
There's a lot.
And I'm like, again, I don't know, maybe because we watch more movies. Now I'm watching more movies because we're doing all of our other reviews and stuff, but I'm starting to catch them more.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of story elements in this that it feels like either there are things left on the cutting room floor, or they said, we're going to focus on the characters and we're not going to worry about the story, and people will be okay with it. I'm not okay with it.
I'm not either. And I think a lot of people out there agree with that.
Yeah. So all right, let's just give our score and then we'll go into spoilers. Okay. So out of 10, I'm at like a 5.8. Like it's a very middling movie. There are some really cool portions of it, and there's some cool character work. There's good acting all around, but the actual story and the execution, and especially the way it ended, it didn't really do it for me. Right. And that was, again, as the big Wonder Woman fan of the first one. I mean, I saw the first one like 6 times in theaters. Yeah. I loved it. And I just rewatched it because my wife had never seen it, and I was like, that's exactly my reaction. And so I was like, okay, we are watching that movie. And so I had that taste in my mouth, and I was really excited, and then I watched this, and I was like, nah. It's like, I'm going to go back and watch the first one.
I think I'm just going to rewatch the first one, and we're going to never talk about this again.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm at a 6 for this movie, a 6 out of 10. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Everyone's acting for what they were told to do is perfect. I think Pascal did great. I think Gal Gadot did great. I think Kristen Wiig did great. I think even some of the smaller characters that we see around, I think everybody was doing really good. I think the movie was really good. I did like our surprise after credit ending. I like that scene.
The post credit scene is cool.
Yeah, so stay and watch that one.
Which was also one of those like, they clearly set up. Yeah. They clearly set it up, but I was still like, oh, like I had kind of forgotten about it, and I was like, oh, cool. Exactly,
and that's why I kind of give it a little bit more of that 6 because I was actually gonna go more 5, but a little more. I'm like, I'll give it some of the aspects like you said. There are some cool shots, there's some really nice ones. But there are things that bring me out of the story too much.
Yeah.
And I don't know, again, if it's because I'm watching on my TV, not in the movie theater, but there were a lot of little parts where I'm like, I think we talked about this with Soul earlier, I get drawn right out, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't making sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's get into spoilers now. Spoiler talk, spoilers for this movie. So,
where do we start?
You hit me with one of your big spoilers that you want to talk about first.
Which one?
Whichever. And then I'll come back.
So. You know what, let's go right to the end credit. I did like
Linda Carter.
Finally got Linda Carter back as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, as Asteria. Yeah. And that was cool.
That was cool.
And it was like when they dropped that early in the movie when she's like, I found her armor, but I had never found her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're obviously like that character coming back. But when I didn't think Linda Carter.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking like, oh, at the end, this person's going to come in and help her, with her final battle. Like that's what I was expecting to team up at the end with Diana and Asteria. And so then when that didn't happen, it kind of left my mind. And so when the post-credit scene happened, I was like, oh, that's clever.
I loved it. Especially she's just walking, like nothing catches the pole and then just puts it back and then like walks off. And who are you? Asteria. I was like, what? And I looked at it, I was like, is that Linda Carter? And my mom's like, that's Linda Carter. I'm like, oh my god.
And she has that whole, like, I've been doing this a long time. Like, it was
good. Paid out for me,
being
a fan of, like, back in, she was, like, in the 70s, right, I think, or something?
I think it was the 80s. Was it 80s? But yeah, and it was, like, obviously they shoot her from behind at first, and so there is that feeling, like, oh, this is just Wonder Woman. Like,
exactly.
This is Gal Gadot. And so then to have her turn and it be Linda Carter, that was a cool one.
I love that one. So that's probably my favorite one.
Okay. So, spoiler talk. I want to get into Max Lord's relationship with his son, because that relationship with his son, it makes no sense to me. Like, I don't understand. Like, he's a deadbeat dad kind of thing. We never see the mom. We don't know what's going on with her.
There's just a comment that at one point, one comment of, oh, she's with her boyfriend this weekend, and that's it.
Yeah, and so we don't see her, which I think we needed some of that to ground Max a little bit more.
Yes.
Obviously, we see. We see in a flashback that he was very traumatized in his childhood by his father.
Yeah, beating him and all the other stuff.
And so, like, we start to get a little backstory of him, but that comes so late in the game. And again, the relationship with the son and the way that this Dreamstone works is, you make a wish and it gives you what you want, but it takes away what you value most.
Yes.
And so, that was one of the things where, people, keep making their wishes. And of course, so in Diana's case, she wishes for Steve back and takes away her powers.
Right.
In Barbara's case, she wishes to be like Diana, and it ends up, loses a lot of what makes her, like her, her warmth and joy,
exactly.
and, those types of things. We never see what it takes from Max, because he wishes to be the Dreamstone.
Right.
But we don't see technically what it costs him. It looks like he's getting ill.
Yeah.
But also I'm like, okay, so your kid's not the thing you value most. Because I would have expected that.
Yeah,
like
being sick or something.
And then even the kid makes a wish. He wishes for his dad to be
have greatness.
His greatness, right? And then we never see what it costs him either.
But then that wish didn't even play out, because what was his greatness? I don't get that's such a vague wish.
It was really weird, and then we get a lot of different wishes, and the rules kind of change once Max Lord becomes the Dreamstone, because he starts picking what he wants rather than taking what they actually value the most.
Yeah.
Like with Kristen Wiig and with Gal Gadot, what they get taken from them isn't a choice by them or by anyone, because they actually are wishing on the Dreamstone, and so it takes away what they value most. But once Max makes that choice,
he gets to pick.
Then he's like just picking whatever he wants. I'm going to take all your shares. I'm going to take your oil. I'm going to take your security team.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was weird.
And see, then it changed to me at that point. It changes again because he's like, give her your rage, give her your thing. And I'm like, but now he's making a wish almost. He's not taking something. He's giving her power.
Yeah.
Because this person made a wish. Now it changed again. And that's what doesn't make sense to me, how they created Cheetah at that point. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, this isn't how that Dreamstone works. You've already established that you lose something you value. Let's say it is his health. So obviously he doesn't value his relationship with his son. So because it was all about him. Right. You lose your health, well now you're gonna die. And all you value is you. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so the relationship with your son, okay. But then, I love my son, I love my son, I love my son. I'm doing this for my son. I want him to be proud. And I like that aspect. Like, I would have loved to see, like you said, his son slowly dying, maybe him not realizing, this is.
I think that would have been a much better choice.
I would have loved that storyline too.
And it really was. And by the end of it, where they have their kind of reunion, I didn't feel any catharsis there. I didn't feel any connection there. It didn't feel like he'd learned a lesson at all. It just felt like, he renounced his wish, and so then we saw, and that's another thing.
I want to comment on that too.
Like, there are so many wishes that I'm sure they didn't get renounced, and so it's like, wait. What are the rules of this?
And you established that the Mayans refused to renounce their wishes, so that's why they didn't do it, but they couldn't destroy it, so that's why all this stuff happened, and the culture got destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said everyone has to renounce their wish, and there was obviously someone in the Mayan culture that was like, no, screw you, I'm not going to do that. And I want to comment on that because we do see Barbara, and I don't think she renounced that wish.
I don't think so either.
So she still has all her powers.
Right. She's not a cheetah anymore because whoever made the wishes that he took that power from that transformed her into cheetah.
See, that's where it gets too.
It's like, but she still has all her Diana powers.
Yeah.
Also, it's weird.
The whole renouncing thing, like you said, there's somebody out there just, my mom died or whatever. They're gonna be like, whatever. I got my wish.
I don't know. I mean. Like we see, and that's the thing is like we see a lot of people renounce their wishes, but that first guy that he tricks into, I wanted the success of our company and, that kind of thing. And then he gets arrested. That guy's sitting in jail. He's not seeing the TV broadcast. He didn't renounce anything. And so it's so there's so many aspects of this that it does not get tidied up at the end. And
the only thing you could say is because he renounced, everything else is null and void.
But and so then I guess the only two that would still be in effect would be Diana's, who she renounced, and Barbara's. But
that's the only that makes that sense.
But they show all those other people renouncing their wishes, and so that kind of contradicts that. Yeah. And again, I think the biggest plot hole for me is that I don't feel like a world that almost had World War III in 1984 is the world we were living in Batman v Superman and Justice League.
Because at this point, no one knows what happened. Batman is supposed to not like Superman because of how powerful he is, but you like Diana? You should hate Diana because she almost caused World War III. That's who you should hate. Superman who's trying to stop it.
I have no idea. Yeah, it seems like this event. I was expecting at the end this to be erased from existence.
Exactly.
Things get reset and back to the way they were. Exactly. That is not what happens.
Not at all.
So I'm like, wait, what? Why has this never been addressed in the 30 years since?
Exactly. Batman doesn't care. He doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And see, so
problems.
Exactly. Well, and I'm glad we're talking about this part because where he renounces his sins, right? Mm-hmm. She gets the lasso around his ankle. How the heck did she do that? Because we've already seen she can't penetrate it, but all of a sudden it's somehow wrapped around his ankle below the width.
It's not important. It's not important.
But we can't talk about it because we need to move the plot. But we already showed that she can't get the lasso through the wind tunnel. Yeah. But I don't know.
So
plot holes.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot holes. Let's talk about some spoiler things that I liked.
Okay.
So seeing Diana fight and being more vulnerable as she was losing her powers, whether it be in the White House fight or the car chase scene in, I think it's Egypt.
Oh, it's Egypt. Okay.
Because they go to Cairo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
That scene, I really enjoyed seeing that and seeing, her, kind of having to
struggle.
to struggle. And then you see Steve kind of, he's helping her, and he's like very resourceful. He's doing the things that you would expect Steve to do. And that's where, again, that character thinness, that nobility that came in, where he was just like immediately like, as soon as they realized, as soon as they realized that the only way that she could get her powers back was for him to, be gone, he was like, that's what we have to do. Like, there's no, and it was like, I kind of would have liked if there was just a little pushback from him, because obviously it was from her, where it's like, I don't want to lose you again. I just got you back. This is the only thing I want. I've wanted you for 65 years. Like, clearly she has to have that emotional journey, and I would have liked if there was some kind of pushback from him also, where he's like, yeah, I want this too, and, and kind of like, almost trying to solve it and give her an out, give her a way to not have to do this, and then have to make that choice.
Yeah, I think I would have liked it more, and maybe it could have bounced off more of the scene with Barbara where they're fighting, and Wonder Woman's almost dying. Like, she almost dies, and it's like, usually maybe Steve's like, no, I'm going to fight, we're going to do this, but then she almost dies, and he realizes, we can't, I need to go. Like, he, like you said, he's with her, like, no, we're going to find another way, we're going to do this, we'll destroy it if we have to, like you say. But then maybe when he sees her about to die, he realizes we can't win unless I go. That would have been more of a selling for me too, And I like Steve. There was another plot hole for me I didn't like though. How the heck did he know how to fly? What, like an F-14, F-16 right there? There's no way he would have known how to fly that.
So the only thing that I will say to that is that the actual components of flying haven't changed much. That's true. The lever is this, and so he can obviously read. He's very smart. He's very intuitive about flying, and so he reads like, oh, this button does this button does this, and so
he's the one to figure it out.
It's one of those things where it's like, yes, but
G-force though.
I'm gonna let that one go.
I let it go for a little bit, but the first couple minutes I was like, you don't understand the G-force behind that plane anymore.
And I did love his whole like, the way I fly, and she's like, oh, I forgot to tell you about radar. And literally his line, well, shit, Diana. Like, I was like, that was great.
I like that.
Well, what are we gonna do now? And then she does the whole like invisibility thing, which is cool.
Too,
I liked that. So she turns the jet invisible, and
I did like.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I did like that scene that we paid out in the end, where she's like, I love how you have always looked at the sky, and I see you, kind of thing, and he explains how to fly to her. Yeah. And I love how that scene played out. I actually don't like that she doesn't fly in, like you said, Batman or Superman. It's like gone, I guess, essentially, or whatever. But I like for that movie that he is the one who taught her to fly by just giving her inspiration.
It's cool, but I don't like that power set. And I know she's had it in the comics for a long time.
And that's the running joke. Why do you need an invisible jet when you can fly?
Yeah. And here's the thing is that, like, and this happened twice in the movie. Twice. Where it's like, aren't they in a hurry? And so it's like, when they take their joyride through the fireworks and all that stuff, it's like, wait, aren't they in a hurry? And then later on, when she goes back to her apartment to get the armor, it's like, wait, aren't you worried? And, like, she does arrive late.
She does. That would at least say she arrives late.
And so it's like one of those things where you're like...
My joke was like, okay, that thing's been sitting there for a while. And obviously it's not on a full tank. You really think you can fly from wherever, from the Smithsonian, all the way to Egypt in a fighter plane?
You're fine.
It's not a...
You're fine.
And we're going to take a little joyride, too. Don't tell me how much fuel we use to do that.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
The invisibleness, I put fuel in there at the same time, so we're good.
Yeah, the one thing, I did think it was very clever the way that they used Max as the Dreamstone, where he kept, like, talking to people and kind of like, I really wish for that, don't you too?
Yes, and he manipulated him to say it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and I liked the way he did that with the one intern where he's like, I wish that I had an audience with the president, don't you? And the guy's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, wait, did you already use your wish? He's like, oh, crap. Like,
I like how he comment, though, he's like, man, all you interns just want Porsches. And he walks off.
Yeah, and then later on, there is a scene with like some old man where he's like, I told him I wanted a farm, but I didn't want it here. And like, and there's people with Porsches everywhere, and and so clearly, there's this concept of everybody getting what you want without having to work for it.
Right.
It's kind of established in the beginning.
Yes.
Right? That's the whole scene on Themyscira with young Diana. It's the same actress that they brought back, and actually, she like did all her own stunts. I read, which is awesome.
Yeah.
She's like a real life Wonder Woman. That's super cool. But yeah, like going through that whole thing, and then taking the shortcut, trying to get what you want without necessarily doing it the right way. That's what they established. I don't know that it really paid off in the end. It didn't feel like it came full circle, especially because the advice Antiope gives her is like, watch what you're doing, like pay attention. Like she doesn't get advice that's like, don't take a shortcut. Yeah. And so it's like, it's really weird when that happens all of a sudden when Antiope is like, you took a shortcut and the truth is the only thing that matters. And I was like, no, you didn't really establish that. Like I would have expected that to be kind of a prologue to her going on her journey. Is like they kind of do the do your best, but it's like if they had been like fight with honor, fight with truth, like that, something like that, like that would have felt like it established more the lesson that they were trying to teach in that moment, and then that ended up for the whole movie.
And see, I love how you comment that, because for me, I think that they're trying to play off Barbara almost. Don't cheat, and this is kind of what she did.
I mean, it's everybody. Max.
Yeah, Max too. Max is the main one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump to Barbara for a minute, because I didn't like this. She makes her wish to be like Diana.
Yep.
And so she gets her powers, not realizing she was Wonder Woman. So she acquires those powers.
Right, like I think she wishes specifically, she wants to be like Diana. She wants to be, I think she says like sexy and strong and something like that. And so, and you can see that transformation, which again felt very Michelle Pfeiffer Batman Returns.
I honestly did not like that part because of that fact that it's like, oh, I don't need my reading glasses now. What? So you're trying to say glasses can't be sexy? Like that bothered me a little bit. The whole, all of a sudden she can walk in heels. I've seen girls wear flats, and that's just as sexy as anything. Like, don't do all this stuff. I didn't like that.
It felt very tropey.
And I don't like that, like you said, that we don't get that scene to play out where she doesn't kind of tell Barbara, like, hey, when I was younger, she doesn't even, like, talk about it, or, it's not about, like, trying to find the fast ways or anything. And same thing to Max. She doesn't even talk to Max about that. Like, Max, that, it didn't play out. Like you said, we don't get it anywhere else in the story.
Wonder Woman doesn't teach that lesson to anyone else.
No. And
she learns the lesson. And so that's why she is able to let Steve go.
Yes.
But you're right. She does not teach that lesson to anyone else. She has kind of her speech at the end where she's like, be the hero and you're the person that can do it. But it wasn't teaching the lesson that taking things the easy way is the bad way.
Exactly.
Like she didn't teach the lesson to other people. And I would have expected that. I mean, that's part of what makes the first movie great is, Steve teaches her, about humanity and that there's good and there's bad and that you have to choose the good, you have to choose to love, you have to do all those things. And she makes that choice and then, it kind of says it out loud that I believe in love. Like that's her thing. And so that's a very powerful moment in that first movie. And in this movie, it did not have that payoff.
It didn't. I don't know what's going on in this movie. And like I said, some of it felt like a wash, rinse, and repeat with Steve because now he's out of time. And I felt like those scenes was kind of like with Diana, where she was walking around with the sword and he's looking at a trash can. She's like, that's just a trash can.
I thought that portion of it was clever. I thought the fish out of water aspect, the montage of him trying on different outfits, which again,
that was kind of funny.
Like it works. The parachute pants line, which was even in the trailer, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
And everything's artwork, and he sees the trash can. Oh, that's just a trash can. Yeah. Of course.
I mean, there were certain things I just didn't. I didn't know if I needed that because we already got it with Diana and her, and I don't know. I don't know why it had some funny moments.
Yeah.
It just didn't sell like it did with Diana.
I do think you have to establish that the world is so different.
That is true.
So like I think you have to establish that. I thought they did a good job. That was one of the portions that I liked the most.
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene in this movie is actually when they wake up in bed together after kind of reuniting, and they're both like, let's just stay here. Don't you want to just stay here? And it's kind of like, it's like this sweet moment where you're like, they do want to just forget about the world and just be them too. And then Diana's like, but we should probably figure out why, a stone brought my boyfriend back from the dead 65 years later. And he's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And again, it's very quick that he's accepting of that. But I like that they kind of have that moment first where they're like, we do just want to be together and just live. Like, we just want to live normal lives together.
Right.
That's what we want, but we can't have it. We have to figure out what's going on. And so I liked that.
I give you that. I did like that part in it, and I forgot I was going to go with one of the parts with him on that.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I drawing it for a second. Well, because I was going to say something about that, and I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, I think we've talked a lot about this movie. I think there are, again, elements of it. Again, I thought the action was good.
Yes, the action was really good.
I thought the actors all did a really good job. Yes. But there were tons of plot holes, and, things didn't necessarily stick in the end. The lesson that it's trying to teach, which is don't take the easy way, and the truth is all that matters. I didn't feel like it hit home at the end. Yeah. Like, there wasn't anything that was like, oh, this is, bam, that's what this movie is about. It was like, it was a lot of tell and not a lot of show, which in movies, it's show, don't tell. And there was a lot of tell and not as much show.
And I'll give you that. And again, it just didn't sell me. The story just wasn't there. Yep. There's too many, like I said, plot holes where it takes you out, especially the end, where, like you said, they're announcing their wish, the whole Maxwell getting the rope on him, or lots of truth on him somehow.
Yeah.
Then, even with the whole reuniting with his son, I didn't feel sold on that part. And again, not the acting, because I think Pascal did really good. I even think Little Boy did really good trying, for who he is.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel that spark, that like, oh, he is proud of his dad. I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and he kind of even says, like, I don't have to be proud of you. I just love you.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. That is a kid response.
Exactly.
Like,
maybe that's what it is.
Like,
maybe it's.
But it just it fell a little bit flat.
It did.
Again, where we kind of left Barbara left me a little bit flat as well. Like, she did not learn a lesson or get comeuppance at all.
No.
And she lost the fight, but that was it. And she is left alive at the end, setting up, potential return.
My thing is I never got this. Speaking of that, that's what it was. Why does she hate Diana? I don't understand it fully. You just didn't like it because she was trying to go to the wish. Why not try to team up with her and be like, well, let's try to find a different way, Diana. Let's see what else we could do.
Yeah, I didn't
get why it was such a nope. You're not my villain. I
think that they establish that she's unwilling to give up what she's got,
right.
And so that for her takes priority over everything else. And so I don't think that she hates Diana until Diana is in her mind trying to take this away from her. Okay. Is that to her? This is something that, she has wanted, and now she has it, and she doesn't want anyone to take it away from her. And so Diana's the one that's trying to take it away from her, and so she is going to, kind of have that reaction.
The other thing, too, is I didn't get why it's Cheetah. Apex Predator, there's so many different ones.
Because that's the character in the comics. That's all I got for
establish anything that it's like she likes cheetahs or nothing else. It was just... I think there was a comment on like the printing on her shoes or something.
On Diana's shoes.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's nice, like leopard print, cheetah print. And it's like, that's it. And I'm like, that's not even foreshadowing. That's just, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's there for you. Yeah.
What do you think, before we close it all out, what do you think that she did see? Now, Steve Trevor, like, you don't think we commented on this, is not in his body. We didn't comment on that. He's in someone else's body, which I'm not going to get into that whole thing because that's going to be long. What did you think, though, when she finally saw the guy as himself at the very end? Did you think anything did that pay off at all for you or anything?
I mean, it was like a little like cute, like, oh, he's wearing the outfit that she picked out for Steve that he didn't want to wear.
Yeah.
And so that was, on one hand, I did, and I thought, but I also it was a very awkward encounter.
Yes.
Because it was like two gorgeous people staring at each other and like having a totally normal conversation where neither one is like, you want to grab a cup of coffee or something like that? It felt so weird.
That's what I was thinking. So I'm like, come on, Dana. Like, even my kiddo was like, Dana, ask him for ask him out. Like, just.
I thought he was gonna ask her because, let's be honest, if you strike up a conversation with Gal Gadot and she's not just blowing you off,
I'd be like.
You're gonna be like, so should we get some? We go to a restaurant. Like,
look, I know
whatever else plans you have for the day, drop them.
You call your boys up and say, "Hey, cover me at my work, whatever."
Wonder Woman is talking to you with a smile. She's engaging with you.
He's like, "Hold on one second. What? Just guys, cut me at work. I can't come in. Why? Wonder Woman is so
Which by the way, this guy, so he exists. He's a real guy who just for 3 days disappeared. It's like
nobody knows.
Nobody else knows. Does he have a girlfriend already? What's going on with his job? Right. What about him when he comes back to his body? Like, does he go, what the heck? Like, why is all my Cheez Whiz gone? Where are my Pop-Tarts?
Oh my God, that's right. He was eating it like 3 or 4 in the bed.
Which, that, again, was really funny. When she, like, wakes up and you could see, she's like, was it all a dream? Like, immediately she's like, let me check and make sure Steve is still there. And he's just like, mid-Pop-Tart eating.
And that's where, like we both said, the acting is good. She sold that scene. He sold the scene of, like, getting caught with, like, your hand in the cookie jar kind of look. And he's like, I'm gonna eat Pop-Tart, but you caught me. I ate like 6 of these already, guys. Like, but I don't know. I didn't explain how.
Again, I wish I loved this movie more. I do love Patty Jenkins, and I love that first Wonder Woman movie. Yes. I wanted more from this movie. I was kind of disappointed by a lot of it, and unfortunately, again, we can't change the world.
Yeah.
I wish I had seen this on the big screen. I think my experience would have been a little different because there are a lot of really cool spectacle things that I feel like I would have really enjoyed on the big screen, and that might have brought my score up. But just watching it at home on my small screen, it was kind of like, all right.
So what we're gonna do one day is we're gonna get a whole movie theater installed into one of our houses, and then we'll get that.
I mean, we've talked. That is my plan for one of my spare rooms, is to turn it into a movie theater. But even that is still just going to be like a wall screen. It's not going to be like a movie theater.
I mean, I'll get a little bus boy to bring popcorn or something for you.
I'm gonna get one of those little popcorn makers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And then we'll have like a candy drawer and everything. Absolutely.
You have to pay like $5 for a piece of candy though.
Oh,
okay.
For you, $3.
And for the movie theater, that's a steal. So, I don't know. Let us know what you guys think below. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who liked it. Like we said, we don't hate the movie.
No.
We love the movie, but just not in love with it, maybe, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, so this is what I will say, is that I wanted more from this movie, especially because I loved the first one so much.
Oh, yeah.
And so this one did leave me feeling disappointed. It's not... I really feel like it's story-based. There's just a lot of plot holes. There's a lot of shortcuts for a movie that tells you don't take a shortcut. There are a lot of shortcuts in this movie. And so that was kind of, again, it just left me a little bit disappointed. But I hope people enjoy this. I hope people love this. It wasn't for me. I'm going to go back and watch that first Wonder Woman movie 100 more times. I still love it. I'm still going to love it. It's still going to hit me. This is one I probably won't return to.
Yeah. I can see that. I probably would watch this one maybe another 1 or 2 times just to catch every little detail and then be done with it. But then I may also get mad at myself for doing it because I'm like, hey, look, more plot holes. So please let us know in the comments below what you think. Was there any plot holes that we didn't touch on that you really bothered you? If you watch our Mandalorian one, there's a door scene I still don't like. So let us know below what you think. Let us know what you think of the whole story, maybe leading off of Wonder Woman 1 and now 2, maybe the whole DC universe still? Do you think somehow this will help Zack Snyder's thing? Maybe we'll get something better from Justice League we both don't want to see. Who knows?
We'll review that when it comes out.
Oh yeah,
that'll be a fun review.
I'm tearing that one apart.
Well, don't say that before you see it. You never know. You never know.
If I listens to you, I want Zack to listen to me.
I think it's going to be awful, but I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna try and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And see what it gives me, and maybe I'll like it. I don't think I will, but I'm going to try.
We'll try.
And then we'll see what happens.
Exactly. So let us know, and let us know any other movies you want us to review or talk about. Let us know, too. Maybe we can go check some of those out. Forget You Geek